In the heart of an eternal night, where the air reeked of sulfur and despair, stood the infernal prison known as Pandemonium Bastille. This was no ordinary prison, it was a fortress of agony, hidden deep within the fiery bowels of hell, a place where time itself seemed to have no meaning, and hope was a forgotten concept. The Bastille's architecture was an abomination, a twisted amalgamation of dark iron and brimstone, its towers and walls contorted into grotesque shapes that defied logic and gravity. The prison loomed over a vast chasm of molten lava, with bridges of charred bones and sinews stretching precariously across the seething abyss. The screams of the damned echoed ceaselessly through its dark corridors, a symphony of suffering that had no end. Inside this forsaken fortress, prisoners were not merely confined, they were tormented, each one subjected to personalized horrors crafted by the malevolent warden, an ancient demon known as Azazel. Azazel was a towering figure, his body a mass of sinewy muscle and charred flesh, his eyes burning with a cruel, unholy light. He delighted in the misery of his captives, taking perverse pleasure in their endless torment. Among the prisoners was a man named Elias Thorn, a soul damned for crimes so vile that even the mortal realm could not contain his wickedness. Elias was once a feared warlord, a tyrant who had reveled in bloodshed and cruelty. In life, he had believed himself invincible, but in death, he found himself at the mercy of forces far darker than he could have imagined. Elias's cell was a small, cramped space carved into the stone walls of the Bastille, its entrance sealed with iron bars that glowed red-hot from the hellish heat. His only companions were the grotesque, half-formed shadows that danced on the walls, mocking his suffering. Each day, Azazel would visit Elias, his presence heralded by the clinking of his iron-clad boots against the stone floor. "Good morning, Elias," Azazel would greet him with a sinister smile, though in hell, there was no true morning or night. "Shall we continue our little game?" The game was a series of tortures designed to break Elias's spirit, each one more horrific than the last. Some days, Elias would be flayed alive, his skin slowly peeled away by demonic claws, only to have it grow back overnight for the process to begin anew. Other days, he would be submerged in boiling tar, his screams lost in the bubbling muck. But the physical pain was only part of the torment. Azazel was a master of psychological cruelty, using illusions and deceptions to drive Elias to the brink of madness. He would conjure visions of Elias's past victims, their faces twisted in eternal agony, their voices a constant reminder of his sins. He would create false hopes of escape, only to snatch them away at the last moment, leaving Elias in a state of perpetual despair. Despite the endless suffering, Elias refused to break. His will, forged in the fires of war and bloodshed, remained unyielding. He clung to the belief that he could somehow escape, that there was a way to outsmart his demonic captors. This defiance only fueled Azazel's desire to crush him completely. One day, Azazel decided to employ a new tactic. He led Elias to a vast chamber at the heart of the Bastille, a place known as the Hall of Mirrors. The chamber was lined with countless mirrors, each one reflecting not only Elias's physical form but also the deepest recesses of his soul. As Elias stared into the mirrors, he saw the true extent of his own monstrosity, the darkness that had consumed him in life and now condemned him in death. Azazel's voice echoed through the chamber. "Look at yourself, Elias. See the monster you have become." There is no escape from this. You are exactly where you belong. Elias's resolve began to waver as he confronted the reality of his own depravity. The mirrors showed him not only his past atrocities but also the emptiness of his existence. He saw himself as a hollow shell, devoid of purpose or redemption. For the first time since his arrival in hell, Elias felt something akin to regret. The weight of his sins bore down on him, threatening to crush his spirit. But even in this moment of weakness, a flicker of defiance remained. He turned away from the mirrors and faced Azazel. "I may be a monster," Elias said, his voice hoarse but resolute, "but I will not give you the satisfaction of seeing me broken." Azazel's expression darkened, his eyes burning with fury. "Very well, Elias. If you will not break, then you will endure an eternity of suffering." With a wave of his hand, Azazel summoned a new torment. Chains of molten iron erupted from the floor, wrapping around Elias's limbs and dragging him into a pit of searing fire. The pain was beyond anything he had experienced, an unending agony that consumed every fiber of his being. Yet even as his flesh burned and his bones melted, Elias's spirit remained unbroken. In the depths of the inferno, Elias found a grim sense of purpose. He would endure, no matter the cost. He would defy Azazel and the horrors of Pandemonium Bastille. In this eternal night, where hope was but a distant memory, Elias Thorn would become a beacon of defiance, a testament to the indomitable human spirit, even in the darkest depths of hell. And so, the infernal prison of Pandemonium Bastille continued its ceaseless torment, a place of unending suffering where the damned paid for their sins. But within its nightmarish walls, one soul stood as a symbol of resistance, a reminder that even in hell, the human will could endure, unbroken and unbowed. As the years bled into centuries and centuries into millennia, the relentless agony of Pandemonium Bastille persisted, the prison's horrors evolving in cruel sophistication. The damned souls within its confines continued to suffer, their torments tailored to their unique sins and fears. Among them, Elias Thorn's endurance became legendary, whispered among the inmates as a source of both inspiration and despair. Azazel, ever the meticulous warden, watched Elias with growing frustration. The demon's desire to break Elias had become an obsession, driving him to devise increasingly elaborate tortures. He drew upon the darkest corners of the infernal realm, summoning nightmares and aberrations that defied the limits of pain and sanity. One particularly heinous creation was the Chamber of Echoes. This chamber was a cavernous, echoing void, where the walls were lined with jagged crystals that amplified and distorted every sound. Here, Elias was subjected to the endless cacophony of his own screams, the echoes intertwining with the tormented wails of countless others. The relentless noise battered his senses, threatening to shatter his mind. Despite the ceaseless torment, Elias clung to his defiance. His body, though broken and scarred, bore the marks of countless regenerations. His soul, however, remained a flickering ember of resistance, refusing to be extinguished. In the rare moments of respite, Elias would meditate on his memories, searching for fragments of strength and resilience. It was during one such moment of introspection that Elias discovered a strange phenomenon. Amidst the chaos of his thoughts, he sensed a faint presence, a whisper that seemed to come from deep within the Bastille itself. At first, he dismissed it as another of Azazel's tricks, a phantom conjured to torment him further. But the whispers persisted, growing more distinct with each passing day. Curiosity piqued, Elias began to focus on the whispers, trying to decipher their meaning. They spoke of ancient secrets, hidden passages, and forgotten lore. They hinted at the existence of a forgotten artifact, a relic imbued with the power to alter the fabric of the infernal realm itself. According to the whispers, this artifact was hidden deep within the Bastille, in a place known only as the Abyssal Vault. Elias knew that seeking the artifact would be fraught with peril, but the possibility of escape, or even revenge against Azazel, ignited a newfound determination within him. He resolved to find the Abyssal Vault and uncover the relic, no matter the cost. Navigating the Bastille's labyrinthine corridors was a monumental challenge. The prison's layout defied conventional logic, shifting and warping like a living entity. Elias relied on the whispers to guide him, their cryptic instructions leading him through hidden passageways and secret doors. Along the way, he encountered other damned souls, some of whom had been driven to madness by their own torment. A few, however, retained enough of their sanity to offer assistance, intrigued by the possibility of defying their infernal captors. Elias's journey was a harrowing ordeal, marked by constant danger and unimaginable suffering. Azazel, aware of his prisoner's activities, unleashed a relentless onslaught of demonic guardians and traps. Each step forward was met with fierce resistance, the very walls of the Bastille seeming to conspire against him. Yet, driven by a fierce resolve, Elias pressed on, his determination unwavering. After what felt like an eternity of struggle, Elias finally reached the Abyssal Vault. The entrance was guarded by a colossal demon, a hulking behemoth of molten rock and infernal flame. The battle that ensued was brutal, a clash of raw power and unyielding will. Though grievously wounded, Elias managed to defeat the Guardian, his victory a testament to his indomitable spirit. Inside the vault, Elias found the relic, a shard of obsidian, pulsing with a dark, otherworldly energy. The whispers had not lied, the shard possessed a power that resonated with the very essence of hell. As he grasped the artifact, a surge of energy coursed through him, filling him with a sense of purpose and clarity. With the shard in his possession, Elias set his sights on his ultimate goal, confronting Azazel. The journey back to the heart of the Bastille was no less treacherous, but the shard's power gave him an edge, allowing him to overcome obstacles that had once seemed insurmountable. His resolve hardened, Elias prepared for the final confrontation. Azazel awaited him in the throne of torments, a grand chamber filled with the instruments of his sadistic craft. The demon's eyes blazed with fury as Elias entered, the shard's dark energy crackling in his hand. "You have come far, Elias," Azazel hissed, his voice dripping with venom. "But this is where your defiance ends." Elias met the demon's gaze, his own eyes burning with a fierce determination. "No, Azazel. This is where your reign of terror ends." The battle that followed was a clash of titanic forces, a struggle that shook the very foundations of Pandemonium Bastille. Azazel unleashed his full fury, wielding powers forged in the deepest pits of hell. But Elias, empowered by the shard and driven by a relentless desire for vengeance, fought with a ferocity that matched the demon's wrath. In the end, it was Elias who emerged victorious. With a final, devastating blow, he drove the shard into Azazel's heart, the dark energy coursing through the demon's form and shattering his essence. Azazel's death throes echoed through the Bastille, a harbinger of the chaos that would soon follow. With Azazel defeated, the infernal prison was thrown into disarray. The chains of torment that bound the damned began to weaken, the oppressive darkness lifting as the power of the shard spread through the Bastille. The whispers that had guided Elias now spoke of liberation, of a chance for redemption and escape. Elias stood at the heart of the chaos, the shard's energy enveloping him. He knew that his journey was far from over, that the road to true freedom would be long and arduous. But for the first time since his arrival in hell, he felt a glimmer of hope. As the walls of Pandemonium Bastille crumbled around him, Elias Thorn, once a tyrant and monster, emerged as a beacon of defiance and resilience. In the darkest depths of hell, he had found a path to redemption, a testament to the indomitable human spirit. And so, the legend of Elias Thorn grew, a tale of defiance and perseverance in the face of unimaginable horror. The prisoners of hell, inspired by his example, began to rise against their tormentors, their cries of rebellion echoing through the infernal realm. Pandemonium Bastille, once a symbol of unending suffering, became a battleground for the souls of the damned, their struggle for freedom a testament to the enduring power of hope. In the end, it was not the fires of hell that defined Elias Thorn, but his unwavering resolve and unyielding spirit. And in that, he found a redemption far greater than he had ever imagined. The rebellion in Pandemonium Bastille spread like wildfire. Word of Elias Thorn's defiance and victory over Azazel inspired the damned souls to rise against their tormentors. Demons, who once wielded absolute power, now faced insurrection from every corner of the prison. The infernal guards, unprepared for such widespread resistance, scrambled to quell the uprisings, but the momentum was unstoppable. Elias, now a symbol of hope and defiance, took on a leadership role. With the shard's power bolstering him, he rallied the prisoners, organizing them into cohesive units capable of strategic assaults. His knowledge of warfare, honed in his mortal life, proved invaluable. The corridors of Pandemonium Bastille became battlegrounds, echoing with the sounds of clashing weapons, demonic roars, and the fierce battle cries of the damned. The infernal prison, once a monument to despair, was now a crucible of resistance. The prisoners, united by a common cause, fought with a ferocity born of desperation and newfound hope. They reclaimed territory inch by inch, each victory a step toward their ultimate goal of freedom. The walls of Pandemonium Bastille, twisted and malevolent, began to fracture under the relentless assault. Among the prisoners, alliances formed, and old enmities were set aside in the face of a greater enemy. There were souls from every era and walk of life, warriors, scholars, criminals, and innocents alike. Each had their own reasons for fighting, their own stories of suffering and loss. Elias became the linchpin of this unlikely coalition, his presence a beacon in the darkness. One such ally was Lilith, a sorceress damned for her dark arts. Her knowledge of infernal magic proved invaluable in countering the demonic forces. She and Elias developed a bond born of mutual respect, their combined strengths turning the tide in many battles. Lilith's arcane abilities complemented Elias's martial prowess, their synergy a force to be reckoned with. As the rebellion gained ground, the true horrors of Pandemonium Bastille were laid bare. Torture chambers, once hidden, were exposed, revealing the extent of the demon's cruelty. The prisoners liberated their comrades, many of whom had been driven to the brink of madness. These rescued souls, though weakened and traumatized, found renewed purpose in the fight for freedom. Elias's ultimate goal remained clear: to dismantle the prison's power structure and secure a path to escape. The key lay in the heart of despair, a central nexus of power that fueled the Bastille's infernal machinery. This dark heart, buried deep within the fortress, was said to be the source of its unholy energy, a wellspring of torment that sustained the prison's malevolent enchantments. The journey to the heart of despair was fraught with peril. Demonic forces, aware of the rebellion's aim, fortified their defenses, turning the innermost chambers of the Bastille into a fortress within a fortress. The path was lined with traps and abominations, each step forward met with fierce resistance. Elias led the charge, his resolve unshaken. Alongside him were Lilith and a core group of loyal fighters, each one a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The battles grew fiercer, the stakes higher, as they pressed deeper into the heart of darkness. The air grew thicker with the stench of brimstone and blood, the very walls seeming to pulse with malevolent energy. In the final confrontation, Elias and his companions reached the Chamber of the Heart. It was a vast, cavernous space, dominated by a pulsating orb of dark energy suspended in the air. Tendrils of shadow and flame radiated from the orb, feeding into the walls and floor, the entire chamber throbbing with a sinister rhythm. Guarding the heart was Belphegor, a demon of immense power and cunning. Belphegor was a master of deceit and manipulation, his form constantly shifting, a nightmare made flesh. The battle that ensued was epic in scale, a clash of wills and powers that shook the very foundations of Pandemonium Bastille. Elias fought with a fury that belied his years of torment. The shard, glowing with dark energy, became an extension of his will, amplifying his strength and resilience. Lilith's magic weaved through the air, countering Belphegor's dark enchantments. The other fighters, though outmatched, fought with a determination that bordered on madness, each one driven by the hope of freedom. The battle reached its climax when Elias, wielding the shard with lethal precision, struck a decisive blow. The shard pierced the heart of despair, unleashing a torrent of energy that engulfed the chamber. Belphegor's form disintegrated in a maelstrom of light and shadow, his death throes a cacophony of unearthly screams. The destruction of the heart sent shockwaves through Pandemonium Bastille. The prison's malevolent enchantments began to unravel, the very fabric of its existence fraying at the edges. The infernal chains that bound the prisoners weakened and broke, their tormentors losing their grip on power. The walls of the Bastille, once impenetrable, began to crumble, the dark fortress collapsing in on itself. As the prison fell into ruin, Elias and his companions led the prisoners to the surface. The path was treacherous, but the promise of freedom drove them forward. They emerged from the depths of hell into a barren, desolate wasteland, the sky above them a swirling vortex of fire and ash. But for the first time in an eternity, they breathed the air of freedom. The rebellion's victory reverberated through the infernal realm, a beacon of hope in a land of despair. Other prisons and fortresses, inspired by the fall of Pandemonium Bastille, began to see uprisings of their own. The infernal order, once unassailable, faced the unthinkable, the possibility of change, of defiance, of redemption. Elias Thorn, the warlord turned prisoner turned liberator, stood at the forefront of this new era. His journey was far from over, the road ahead fraught with challenges and uncertainties. But with the shard's power and the unwavering spirit of those who followed him, he faced the future with a grim determination. In the darkest depths of hell, a legend was born, a tale of defiance and redemption, of hope and resilience. Elias Thorn's story echoed through the infernal realm, a reminder that even in the most hopeless of places, the human spirit could rise, unbroken and unbowed. And so, the tale of Pandemonium Bastille became a testament to the enduring power of hope, a beacon in the darkness that would inspire generations of the damned to come. Elias Thorn, once a monster and tyrant, found redemption in the fires of hell, his legacy a symbol of the unyielding will to fight for freedom, no matter the cost. The wasteland outside Pandemonium Bastille was a desolate expanse of cracked earth and sulphurous fog, punctuated by the occasional twisted, barren tree. The freed prisoners stood in awe, their eyes adjusting to the harsh, dim light. Though they had escaped the Bastille, they were still deep within hell, and the true test of their endurance was just beginning. Elias Thorn, battered but unbowed, took in the landscape. The shard, now embedded in his chest, pulsed with a dark, steady rhythm. It had become a part of him, both a source of power and a constant reminder of the battles he had fought. He knew they needed to move quickly, the forces of hell would not let their rebellion go unchallenged for long. Lilith approached him, her eyes weary but determined. "We need to find a place to regroup and plan our next move. This wasteland won't provide us with any shelter or resources." Elias nodded. "We need to head toward the river Styx. It's a treacherous path, but it may be our best chance of finding a way out of this infernal realm." The river Styx, a legendary boundary between hell and the mortal world, was said to hold the key to escape. However, it was also heavily guarded by demonic sentinels and treacherous currents that could drag a soul deeper into the abyss. The journey would be perilous, but it was a risk they had to take. As they set out, Elias and his companions encountered the remnants of other prisoners, wandering the wasteland in search of freedom. Some were too far gone, their minds shattered by endless torment, but others rallied to Elias's cause, their hope rekindled by the fall of Pandemonium Bastille. The group grew in size and strength, a ragtag army of the damned, united by a common goal. The journey was arduous. The wasteland was fraught with dangers, from roaming packs of infernal beasts to the ever-present threat of demonic patrols. Each step was a battle for survival, the landscape itself seeming to conspire against them. But Elias led them with unwavering determination, his resolve a beacon in the darkness. One night, as they made camp in the shadow of a crumbling basalt cliff, Elias gathered his closest advisors. Lilith, ever the strategist, laid out a map she had conjured from the fragments of arcane knowledge she possessed. "The river Styx is here," she pointed to a winding line that cut through the heart of hell. "But it's heavily fortified. We'll need to find a way to bypass or neutralize the guards." A grizzled warrior named Garrick, once a knight in the mortal realm, spoke up. "I've heard tales of an ancient bridge, hidden from the eyes of demons, built by the first souls to escape hell. If we can find it, we might be able to cross the Styx unnoticed. Elias nodded. We'll head for this bridge. If it exists, it's our best chance. But we must remain vigilant. The forces of hell will not rest until we are recaptured or destroyed. As they continued their journey, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The shard in his chest throbbed with an unsettling intensity, as if sensing a looming threat. He kept these fears to himself, focusing on leading his people through the treacherous landscape. Their path led them through a series of caverns, each more foreboding than the last. The air grew thick with sulfur, and the ground trembled with the distant roars of unseen beasts. It was in one of these caverns that they encountered the guardian of the bridge, an ancient entity bound by a pact older than hell itself. The guardian was a towering figure, its form a shifting mass of shadows and flames. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light as it regarded the intruders. Who dares seek passage across the river Styx? Its voice echoed through the cavern, reverberating with power. Elias stepped forward, his gaze unwavering. We are souls seeking redemption. We wish to escape this realm and find a new purpose beyond these infernal walls. The guardian's eyes narrowed. Redemption is not easily earned. The path you seek is fraught with peril. What makes you believe you are worthy of crossing? Elias drew on every ounce of strength and conviction. We have fought against the tyranny of hell. We have defied the demons who sought to break us. We seek not just escape, but a chance to atone for our sins. If we are not worthy, then no soul in hell is. The guardian seemed to consider this, its form flickering as if caught between two worlds. Very well. But know this, the bridge is not merely a passage. It is a test. Only those who confront their darkest fears and emerge victorious may cross. With that, the guardian gestured, and a hidden passageway opened in the cavern wall. The group, led by Elias, entered the passage, the air growing colder and more oppressive with each step. They emerged onto the fabled bridge, an ancient structure of stone and bone, suspended over the swirling, black waters of the river Styx. As they set foot on the bridge, each member of the group was confronted by visions of their darkest fears and deepest regrets. The bridge itself seemed to come alive, its surface shifting and warping to reflect their inner turmoil. Elias was no exception. As he walked, he saw the faces of those he had wronged in life, their eyes filled with accusation and sorrow. He felt the weight of his past sins bearing down on him, threatening to drag him into the abyss. But he pressed on, fueled by the desire to make amends and lead his people to freedom. Lilith faced her own demons, her mind filled with the memories of the dark rituals and forbidden knowledge that had damned her soul. She saw the faces of the innocents she had sacrificed, their pleas for mercy echoing in her ears. But she, too, pressed on, her will unbroken. One by one, the members of the group confronted their fears and emerged stronger for it. The bridge, sensing their resolve, allowed them passage. As they reached the far side, the guardian reappeared, its eyes glowing with approval. You have proven yourselves worthy, it intoned. Go forth and seek your redemption. With renewed hope, the group crossed the final stretch of the bridge and found themselves on the banks of the river Styx. The water, dark and foreboding, seemed to pulse with a life of its own. In the distance, they could see the faint glow of a portal, a gateway to the mortal realm. But their journey was far from over. As they approached the portal, they were confronted by a legion of demonic sentinels, their eyes blazing with fury. The forces of hell had finally caught up with them, determined to prevent their escape. Elias, standing at the forefront, raised his sword high. "We fight for our freedom. We fight for redemption. Charge!" The battle that followed was fierce and brutal. The air was filled with the clash of steel, the roar of demons, and the cries of the damned. Elias fought with a ferocity born of desperation, his every strike fueled by the hope of a better future. Beside him, Lilith unleashed her arcane power, her spells tearing through the ranks of the demonic horde. Despite their determination, the group was vastly outnumbered. For every demon they felled, more seemed to emerge from the shadows. It was a battle they could not hope to win through sheer force. In the midst of the chaos, Elias spotted a massive, horned demon leading the charge. This demon, he realized, was the key to their escape. If they could defeat it, the demonic forces might falter long enough for them to reach the portal. Rallying his companions, Elias led a desperate charge toward the horned demon. The battle was intense, the demon's strength and fury nearly overwhelming. But with a combination of skill, magic, and sheer determination, they managed to bring the beast to its knees. With a final, decisive blow, Elias struck the demon down. The surrounding demonic forces hesitated, their leaders' fall momentarily disrupting their cohesion. Seizing the opportunity, Elias and his companions made a break for the portal. As they reached the gateway, Elias turned back to face the remaining demons. "Go," he shouted to his comrades. "I will hold them off." Lilith grabbed his arm, her eyes filled with both fear and determination. "No, Elias. We do this together." Elias nodded, and together they stepped through the portal, the world of hell dissolving behind them in a blinding flash of light. They emerged into the mortal realm, the air cool and refreshing against their skin. The portal closed behind them, cutting off the sounds of battle and sealing their escape. They stood in a dense forest, the trees towering above them, the sunlight filtering through the leaves in golden rays. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Elias and his companions took a moment to breathe, to savor the sensation of freedom. They had escaped hell, but their journey was far from over. They were marked souls, their past sins still a burden they carried. But in this new world, they had a chance to atone, to build a new life and find redemption. Elias looked around at the faces of those who had followed him, each one a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. They had faced the darkest depths of hell and emerged stronger for it. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by their shared ordeal and the hope of a better future. And so, in the heart of a verdant forest, under the clear blue sky, began a new chapter in their lives. The forest, though serene and inviting, held its own mysteries and dangers. They had traded one form of hell for another, but this time, the challenges they faced would be of a different nature. The first order of business was survival. They needed to find food, water, and shelter. Elias, ever the leader, organized scouting parties to explore their surroundings. The forest was dense, teeming with wildlife and unfamiliar plants. As they ventured deeper, they discovered a clear stream, its water pure and cold. It became their lifeline, providing the sustenance they needed to recover from their ordeal. While some gathered food and water, others worked on building a makeshift camp. They fashioned shelters from branches and leaves, creating a semblance of civilization amidst the wilderness. Lilith, using her arcane knowledge, crafted protective wards to keep the camp safe from nocturnal predators. As days turned into weeks, the group slowly adapted to their new environment. The forest, once an unknown and potentially hostile territory, became their home. The skills they had honed in hell, their resilience, resourcefulness, and unity served them well in this new world. Elias, though focused on their immediate needs, never lost sight of their ultimate goal, redemption. He knew that simply surviving wasn't enough. They had to find a way to atone for their past sins and ensure their newfound freedom was not in vain. He began to gather stories from each of his companions, learning about their lives before hell, their regrets, and their hopes for the future. These stories revealed a tapestry of human experience, filled with sorrow, guilt, and longing. Each soul had a unique tale of downfall and damnation, but also a spark of hope. Elias realized that their redemption lay not just in their own hands, but in the impact they could have on the world around them. One evening, as the group sat around a campfire, Elias addressed them. "We've come a long way from the depths of hell. We've fought and bled for our freedom, but our journey isn't over. We have a chance to make a difference in this world, to right the wrongs of our past. Together, we can find redemption." Lilith, sitting beside him, added, "We must use our experiences, our knowledge, and our strength to help those in need. In doing so, we can heal not just ourselves, but also the world around us." The group, inspired by their leader's words, pledged to dedicate themselves to this new purpose. They would seek out places of suffering and injustice, using their skills to aid the oppressed and fight against the darkness. In doing so, they hoped to cleanse their souls and find peace. Their first test came sooner than expected. While exploring the forest, they encountered a village under attack by bandits. The villagers, simple farmers, and artisans, were no match for the ruthless marauders. Without hesitation, Elias and his companions sprang into action, their training and experience in battle proving invaluable. The fight was swift and brutal. The bandits, unprepared for such fierce resistance, were quickly overpowered. Elias, wielding the shard's dark power, led the charge, his presence a terrifying force. Lilith's magic, a mix of destruction and protection, turned the tide in their favor. The villagers, seeing their saviors, rallied and fought alongside them. When the dust settled, the bandits lay defeated, and the village was safe. The grateful villagers welcomed their saviors with open arms, offering food, shelter, and gratitude. For Elias and his companions, this victory was more than just a battle won, it was a step toward their redemption. Over time, the group became known as the Guardians of the Lost, a band of wanderers who appeared in times of need, bringing hope and justice to those who had none. Their reputation grew, and with it, their sense of purpose. Each act of kindness, each battle fought for the innocent, was a step closer to absolution. Elias, though still haunted by his past, found solace in their mission. The shard, once a symbol of his damnation, now seemed a tool of justice. He used its power with caution, aware of the thin line between redemption and further corruption. Lilith, ever at his side, provided counsel and support, her own journey of atonement intertwined with his. The road was long and fraught with challenges. They faced powerful foes, both mortal and supernatural, each battle a test of their resolve. But with each victory, they grew stronger, their bond as a group unbreakable. They encountered other souls seeking redemption, and their numbers grew, each new member adding to the strength and diversity of their fellowship. Years passed, and the Guardians of the Lost became a legend. Tales of their deeds spread far and wide, inspiring others to stand against tyranny and darkness. Villages and towns they had saved flourished, the seeds of hope they had planted growing into a network of safe havens and sanctuaries. Elias, now a seasoned leader and warrior, looked back on their journey with a mix of pride and sorrow. The scars of hell would never fully heal, but he had found a way to turn his pain into something meaningful. He had found redemption not just for himself, but for the countless souls who had joined him in their quest. One day, as the Guardians rested in a peaceful glade, Elias received a message. A dark force was rising in a distant land, threatening to plunge the world into chaos. It was a call to action, a reminder that their work was never done. He stood before his companions, their faces lined with experience and determination. "Another battle awaits us," he said, his voice strong. "Another chance to make a difference. Are you with me?" The response was unanimous, a resounding cry of loyalty and purpose. Together, they set out once more, their journey continuing into the unknown. They had escaped hell, but their fight for redemption and justice was eternal. And so, the legend of Elias Thorn and the Guardians of the Lost endured, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of hope. In the face of darkness, they became a beacon of light, proving that even the most damned souls could find redemption and make a difference in the world. As they ventured forth into the unknown, Elias Thorn and the Guardians of the Lost knew that their journey would never truly end. They continued to roam the realms, confronting darkness wherever it threatened to overwhelm the light. Theirs was a mission born of redemption, fueled by the desire to atone for past sins and create a better world. Through their travels, they encountered new challenges and forged alliances with kindred spirits who shared their ideals. They brought hope to the oppressed, justice to the downtrodden, and fought tirelessly against the forces of tyranny and despair. Each victory strengthened their resolve, each setback only fueled their determination to persevere. Elias, once a prisoner in hell, had become a symbol of hope and resilience. The shard embedded in his chest remained a reminder of his journey, a source of power tempered by his unwavering sense of justice. With Lilith and their comrades by his side, he led by example, showing that even in the darkest of times, one could find light. Their tale spread far and wide, becoming a legend whispered around campfires and recounted in taverns. Elias Thorn, the warrior who defied hell itself, and the Guardians of the Lost, who followed him without hesitation, became revered figures in the annals of history. Their legacy transcended their mortal lives, inspiring generations to come to stand against evil and fight for what is right. And so, as Elias Thorn and the Guardians of the Lost continued their quest, their names echoed through the ages as symbols of courage, redemption, and hope. They had escaped the prison of hell, not just in body but in spirit, forging a path of righteousness that would endure for eternity. This is where their story finds its resting place, in the hearts and minds of those who believe in the power of redemption and the triumph of the human spirit against all odds.